Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Nice of you to join me again on a lovely winter's evening in the UK. A great opportunity to do lots of training to keep warm, which is one of the main reasons martial art exercises were developed. Anyway, not to get off subject, tonight's topic is Black Flag Wing Chun and my journey. And what I mean by that is I have been receiving loads of questions about my involvement with what was Black Flag Wing Chun. So it's quite a long story. I hope you've all got 5 minutes. Where do I start? Well, I think it's important to say before I got involved with Black Flag Wing Chun, I've been doing martial arts for a long time, decades already, and I had trained in China, so I had a good grip of Kung Fu, and I guess, including Wing Chun, obviously Shaolin and Tai Chi, and my first exposure of Black Flag was Sifu Lin's videos on YouTube, which were all very impressive, and I was really interested. I could see there is some genuine Kung Fu there, a good grasp of internal training, as it were, breathing, etc., which is Wing Chun's not particularly well known for its internal training. Most Wing Chun is really basic, and a part of what is Wing Chun is part of the reason that Black Flag Wing Chun happened. So after seeing the videos, I got inquisitive. I got in touch with Sifu Lin and arranged to, in exchange for me going to America, for him to train me, to show me what he's about. So I took up that offer, went to Fredericksburg, Virginia, and stayed there and trained with the guys there. By the way, all the guys are swell people. I really enjoy and cherish the memory of training with my American brothers and sisters, as it was. So by no means is the subject of Black Flag Wing Chun derogatory to the students that trained in it, and I'll explain why later on. So where are we? So I've gone to America. I'm training with Sifu Lin. I've learnt about Sifu Sergio and been looking up what exactly happened between what Lin and Sergio, and what it sort of amounted to for me at the time was that Sergio was really inspired by Lin's training and his project, which I'll explain about, and wanted to represent that in a bigger way that Sifu Lin and Benny Meng had in mind, and that was one of the reasons that Sergio left him. The other reason being that they had lied about some of the historic facts they were claiming. So let's step back a little bit and think about, let's discuss why did Black Flag Wing Chun happen. So Sifu Lin and others like him, Benny for example, in the Wing Chun world there's kind of maybe a pinnacle, or there's already like a pyramid scheme to a lot of the modern day martial arts in their claim of ownership or development of whatever style, whether it's Yip Man, Ip Chun, Wing Chun, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, or Krav Maga. These types of systems, hierarchy, inspired Lin who wanted to be the Grand Master, but you can't be the Grand Master of, let's say, Hong Kong Wing Chun if It Chun is already considered the Grand Master or something like that. So in order to have like the claim to the most senior member of a martial arts school these days, you'd have to have something unique, and Lin had been very inspired by BJJ and Krav Maga in the way that they operate as a business, and the McDonald's franchise scheme. And in America, like the flag schemes are really common, and that linked back to the story of what is Black Flag Wing Chun. So there's Wing Chun, and there's lots of different Wing Chun, and just because style doesn't look like, say, Ip Chun's Wing Chun doesn't actually mean nothing in comparison to the fact that there's lots of Wing Chun teachers from lots of different parts of the world, which is a big place, you know, geographically. So there's lots of variations, and they're all subsystems, Wing Chun being more of a range of close range grappling, striking. As we know, like judo is, we could say, throwing, and we could say Northern Shaolin is kicking or something like that. So a particular range. No one range has ever really made a, well, I was going to say he's never made a successful famous fighter, but in modern history, because of competition, we do have those things. So we have like a sumo champ, a boxing champ, a jiu-jitsu champ, and so forth and so on. So where are we? So we have Wing Chun. We know that existed in various strains. All recent history to us in the West over the last few decades, and claiming have like the Sifu syndrome with all martial arts. With some individuals, they want to be this thing, you know, that people kind of worship or pay. And I've personally never seen, as traditionally, martial arts isn't a full-time job, see, and it's a big world. You shouldn't be getting a big head over something. In fact, you're like probably know very little about in the grand scale of history. So what about the Black Flag bit? Well, there is actually historical Black Flag. So we have the historical idea of the Black Flag Army, which was a Southern Chinese army that lost some battles, and obviously soldiers that had been losing battles or had been travelling to fight battles, they'd all be all over the place basically. So the idea was that some of these Chinese martial arts fighters emigrated towards Vietnam and fought in Vietnam and stuff like that. And that's supposed to be some sort of like a gangster connection, but that's a different story too. We get to that part. The other side of Black Flag is, or story of Black Flag, is that it's a like a charity based, what in the West, UK anyway, we might liken to something like the Salvation Army, actually, where you'd have people that had either fought against other countries, and obviously like Indonesia, China, South Asia, they've had lots of conflicts, winning and losing, wars over political reasons and religion. So there are a lot of veterans, and some of those veterans might have hung around together, you know, which wouldn't have been unusual, and in those days it wouldn't have been unusual for them to be doing kung fu either. So there's that. So you can establish Black Flag's a real thing, and then there's more gangsterfied stories of Black Flag, those types of veterans seeking revenge on their Chinese occupiers in different parts and times, places. They're all valid. So there is Black Flag, Kung Fu, and there is Wing Chun, and there is also the more original styles, not so influenced by politics, like Master Tao, who taught Lin the majority of his Shaolin based forms, and that style is related to the seven Kung Fu systems like Lohan, at Five Ancestors, these types of styles that also migrated over to Japan and are known for more the harder edged karate styles like Goju, White Crane. They're all sort of related to this strand of hard seven styles of martial art. And actually in the oldest recordings of Kung Fu history in China, in the mainland, there's, for martial arts masters, there's access to literature, and the oldest style of Shaolin, Wing Chun, was there and referred to of much more of like a hard style of chopping at the arms, using the dummy, more for conditioning, like extreme conditioning, which is more akin to the sort of hard seven styles, what Master Tao taught Lin and what Lin had learned from other martial artists in those areas. So it's an amalgamation of those theories in the physical skill plane even, but on the historical side and the business side, with other angles that are involved, that caused the idea of creating a new style to fall apart for him, really, which was basically amalgamating history to a point of lying. So his business motivation was to sort of become the new BJJ of Wing Chun, the new Krav Maga of Kung Fu, and in some ways there's nothing wrong with that. However, there is a problem with lying about the background of that, and then the really hardcore pyramid scheme franchise operation that a lot of less favourable businesses might use, that no one likes, like really hardline cold calling type of aggressive sales techniques to get people to sign up for contracts. And that's not unusual in the martial art world now. It's fucking common. You can't go to a martial art club hardly without having to sign up to a direct debit or something, so it's not like no one else is doing it. But the problem was that basically by lying to everyone, it lost credibility, even though that the system is credible. So what happened with that, the lie, I ended up being interviewed about the system. Why was it Black Flag I was interviewed about? Because it was new, that's what the industry wants. So they were pandering to the industry with the intent of building an international club using the same tactics as most of the big branded martial arts schools have done, with unfortunately the personal deception of a particular character. So what else is influenced? So this gangster thing, the idea that it's from the Hongmen, and the Hongmen were gangsters, they wasn't. So the idea of the Hongmen, or 5 lodges, were Masonic lodges in Asia. So Freemasons, not gangsters, they're at the different end of the scale. So sure, you might have some gangsters that are Freemasons or Freemasons that are gangsters, but Freemasonry and the Masonic lodges were set up over there for people to avoid the dogma of religion, of being stuck in a particular social group, and also to be able to pool resources to help other people in charitable ways as well as educational ways. So the fantasy and the reality isn't quite the same thing. We can all be influenced by that wannabe gangster type of stuff, but we all know that that type of stuff never ends well, and it didn't end well for Sifu Lin. So how did I find all this out? Well, I trained, as I said, in Virginia, also went over to LA where I met Benny Meng, and unfortunately Benny Meng was 100% into this bullshit. We've already said that Sergio liked it but then broke off, and that's when we seen him on the internet doing like the internal Wing Chun and basically doing exactly the same bullshit, saying that he knows some secret styles to do exactly the same thing that Lin was doing, but without them and without their black flag idea. How did I find out? Well, I was there with several other students and we all had our suspicions, and me and Dave Morgan on several occasions went through Sifu Lin's laptop in the gym. So we found all of the videos of his progression from what he'd learnt to what he developed to teach, and it was just too much for me to take at that point, and I decided to leave the organisation. And a few of the others, like I mentioned, Dave Morgan from the UK, Riccardo from Italy, they knew it was bullshit, but they, you know, Lin was playing on the fact that these guys, now that they've bigged up the style, their egos would get in the way of them saying that they were wrong. And they were there because they also wanted to be a master of their own club and have a franchise. So even though that they knew it was bullshit, they were already tied into contracts. He got them to sign contracts. Personally, I didn't pay for any training whenever I trained in the States, and I didn't sign any contracts. He would have liked me, you know, to get me on side was a real benefit for him. And I love my Kung Fu, crazy for it, so I trained really hard and developed some skills. So a few of them were complicit, and they've gone off and tried to keep the Black Flag Wing Chun bullshit alive for Lin, I suspect under some franchise scheme. And a few others just broke off like me, like the Brazilian guys. They wised up, and all the American kids, I think, as far as I know, they all wised up. And so that was it then. For a while I was just training, doing my thing, not like doing the thing with him. For quite a crazy few years of my life anyway. I broke my knee, ACL, got snapped in BJJ class, and I'd also had a motorcycle crash and broke my shoulder and ripped the tendon off. So my hardcore Kung Fu days were like, I've never been 100% anyway. My last sort of Black Flag thing happened when I met, through another student, a guy called Sifu Vic, and we trained, we went up, he came down from Slough, open-minded about what we were doing, and we went up to Slough training as well, open-minded to what they were doing and learning some stuff. And things seemed alright, but on one occasion I'd gone up and we'd done some training, and then after I left, although we'd like obviously done some training, we recorded on our phones with each other consent, doing a bit of pushing hands. he messaged me and said that he'd been recording all of it, and he wanted to use it in some video that he wanted to do, which is basically going to be like him making himself look good. And I felt a little bit uncomfortable about it, but it wasn't just me. I took a younger student up there, Patrick. He's like a 17-year-old kid, and when I mentioned to him that Seafood Vic had said he got this, he'd been videoing everything all the time from these hidden cameras, Patrick was like, well, you can't do that, I'm a minor. And I brought it up with Vic, and he said there was CCTV signs everywhere, and I couldn't recall them, and Patrick was saying no, he didn't see no signs, he didn't want him to be using this video anyway. So Vic was saying like, well, I just want to use this one bit, basically the bit when he tripped me over on one occasion. We sparred, I hit him, he hit me. It was sparring, not trying to, you know, it wasn't like a fight or nothing, you know. It was a little bit heated, but it's just sparring. But anyway, I'd asked for the whole video anyhow. I was like, well, I'd want to see all of this. And he declined, so like we was like, you know, you can't do that. And Patrick got very upset about the thought, and you know, he's saying, well, we can do stuff against that. So I was more intrigued to see this footage, but over this disagreement that he couldn't use this clip, because we couldn't see these clips that he had before he was going to do this video. We found out about it, and that was unfortunate. Like, you know, I've fallen out with a lot of guys over this stuff, and they're all like good guys on a good day, you know what I mean? We all have bad days. Me, not so much driven to be like the encyclopedia of Wing Chun like Sergio, or you know, the big name of Wing Chun. So it's a fortunate conflict, exposed a lot of ugly truth about Wing Chun and martial art politics and business and people in general. But as a life experience, it was a good experience. I met a lot of great people. You know, the Kung Fu was really good. There was no need to bullshit, but at the same time, if your mindset is, I want to be the next BJ, I want to be the BJJ of Kung Fu, or the Krav Maga of Kung Fu, or whatever, then you know, these conflicts are going to arise in the modern day, when a lot of people do have financial, you know, they want to make money out of it, basically. So the less people that try to make money out of martial arts, the better, really. And that way there's less politics, and we can all train together without too much ego. And also it should remind us all that as individuals, regardless of what martial arts we do, as a martial artist we have an obligation to be developing our character and our wisdom, right? So it's not all about fighting or making money or psyching people off so you can make more money than them, or the other way around. Kung Fu, like, you know, the meaning is hard work, discipline, training. No UFC fighter become a champion by not training, you know. Most people are just part-time martial artists. They're doing it for a little bit of a hobby. It's good that people are getting exercise. It's an individual thing when people are like slacking off other people for their content or their teaching material. A lot of people just don't have any, and you know, you run into this more of like an industry of martial arts, whereas from my perspective it's more matrixy, if you like, that industry is what we don't want in the martial arts. And for me personally, there's no deeper bullshit than people that are just, yeah, I'm like so and so's best student, I train with this master, this guy's the best of whatever. If you've really been around, and what I mean by that is being around the world, you'd have woken up to the reality that you're just a fucking mortal human being, regardless of how many black belts you've got, and there's always someone better. And just because someone's good doesn't mean you would see them in a contest realm. You know, the best martial artists in the world might not even be in a competition with people for money or something. They might have a fucking good job, and they don't need to prize fight, basically. So what are we promoting as martial artists is that less or more important than these tit-tat details over techniques or history. None of us know any real history. We only know what we've been told, right? We went around to experience it. So yeah, it's unfortunate that there's some conflict in the martial art world, but as a martial artist, part of our development is guiding ourselves and others through that. And martial arts is a very, I think, a very honest expression of human interaction, right? So there's not really any need to lie about it or glamorize it or glorify other aspects of it. As you get better, you get further away from violence. You know, most martial artists are insecure. I started martial arts because I was insecure, right? Most people will give you the story of how they were bullied or some stuff like that, or from a fitness point of view, I like martial arts still because it's keeping me fit. I don't, in the modern world, even from when I was training, I'd get in loads of scraps. I'd done door work and competition, and everything was amateur. You know, there are lots of rules to be bent and broken, and no fight's a fair fight. And it ain't like that even now. Like, you can't, you know, you just wouldn't get away with kicking someone's head in, just as much as there's a lot less chance of someone kicking your head in. So really, like one of my teachers would say, the battles used to be fought for land, but now they're fought for our minds.